Hey guys, Mark here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and so today we are going to be taking a look at this guy right here, the STR Super Saiyan 3 Giant Ape Goku, who finally, after 8 years of being in the game, has an Easy A. Unfortunately, he is surrounded by a bit of a negative buzz because, of course, this guy is one of the many units in the game. I think there's a good, 10 or so? That have what we call the nuking style leader skill, which means that he is banned from a significant number of the events in the game. So pretty much all of the events that we would consider to be the proper end game content, right? The GDC special battle, and then going back we have like the red zones for Goku story, Vegeta story, like from the 10th anniversary. I think apparently is he available to use in battle hardened formidable foes? Somebody made the list the other day that I talked about in a video. Let me just bring it up here, because battle hardened formidable foes is not as bad of a one because it has 2 phase fights, so maybe he isn't banned from that one. But essentially they banned nuking style leader characters a while ago in the game because there was a time long ago when most of the difficult events in the game were only 1 phase. Okay, yeah, he can be. So, battle hunt formidable foes. Because the problem is, if you take a nuking leader into one of these events, you use all your items, you do the big nuke, you kill the enemy, but then there's another phase. Like, a lot of these events nowadays, you can't bring more than 1 item anyway, so setting up for a big nuke turn isn't really something that you can do. But yeah, it's just kind of stupid, because, like, the GDC special battle we talked about, like even the phases like that have 1 enemy, the Gogeta and the Omega stages, if you bring a nuke lead into that team and you get hit once, you die. And if you bring an item like a Ghost Usher or something like that, you have no orb changing items, so you're completely relying on orb changes on your team. Like, I don't think you even can realistically nuke events anymore, so I don't know why they kept this guy still bad. Like any of those, they should just unban all of them. Like, what difference does it really make in the game overall? But it is what it is. We're here in the Divine Wrath Mortal Will extreme type boss rush, because he can be used in this event at least, so we're going to see how good he is. He greatly raises defense for 1 turn on super, as well as raising attack for 3 turns, so when he comes back on his 2nd turn he will have some slightly higher attack stats. He has attack and defense 200%, all allies attack and defense 33%, and then an additional 1 key and attack 33% for Giant 8 power or GT heroes. So that's pretty cool. The 2 categories, like the main teams you'd want to run him on, he's giving 66% attack and 33% defense. Pretty good. And then he has a medium chance to transform into a Giant Ape. Now, that is a bit of a downside really for him, because it's literally at the beginning of every single turn there's a 30% chance that he'll transform, and then that's it, right? He only gets 1 transformation. So there will be times in events where you can use this guy. Like, he immediately transforms on turn 1, which isn't necessarily the most beneficial time, right? Because we want to use those Giant Ape transformations when we can for clutch, like turns a bit further into the fight where we can get rid of like the enemy super attacks and stuff like that. Whereas this is completely random, so you have no control over that at all, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. When attacking, he gets attack and defense 200%. Then when there's another GT hero or Giant 8 power ally in the same turn, he gets another 150% attack and defense. Chance to crit and chance to dodge 50%, so that's pretty good. And then when all allies in the same turn are GT heroes or Giant 8 power, he has an additional super attack and guard. So this is the kind of thing that I talk about when I say characters, like when it feels like they phoned in some characters. I always say, like, I don't mind if you like, why didn't they give these characters a bit of an extra boost with a restriction, as long as it's not a terrible restriction. Like, some people might look at this guy and be like, oh, why doesn't he just have guard like all the time, like in his base kit? But realistically, like, teams that you're going to be running him on, GT heroes or Giant 8 power are the 2 main teams. Now, yeah, it means if you want to throw him on like a Goku family team randomly, then you're not going to get the guard and the additional super, but these are the 2 big teams realistically where we would want to be running him, if we could, obviously, in events. So of course we're running him on the GT Heroes team, so he is going to have a guaranteed additional super, guard, 50% dodge, 50% crit. Right, seems like he could be pretty good And obviously the Giant Ape transformation is just kind of a random thing that we can't really have any control over. So he's got 365k defense start of turn, basically. And then remember, when he attacks, he's going to get an extra 200%. So that puts him up to, what, like just over 1 million, basically, 1.1 million, something like that, which isn't really a lot. Even with guard, that's not like hugely beneficial in a lot of situations. But of course, he kind of backs that up a little bit by having the 50% chance to dodge. So it is only a coin flip, of course, so, you know, you can certainly get unlucky when it comes to those kind of odds. But it means if you... I was going to say, it means if you run him against some of the hardest hitting bosses in the game, but you can't anyway, because you can't use them in those events. I guess the battle hardened formidable foes, obviously the second phases of those fights, like the bosses do super for pretty decent amount of damage, but any of the bosses that you actually can take him up against, once they start to hit even remotely hard, like not even the hardest hitting bosses in the meta, like he pretty much is going to be dodge or die against those bosses. Normals, I mean, again, if he's only getting up to around 1.1 million, he has guard, so he's going to be tanking, what, like just up to 2 million, unless they're from extreme, and then they do slightly more anyway. But yeah, some bosses in the game, especially when we talk about, again, I keep saying, I'm going through all the usual thought process. It's like, if we think about built up Rosé, but you can't fight him anyway. So in terms of the events that he is available to use in, I think he can tank normals for the most part. Let's get up the battle hardened formidable foes like stats here and see what we're looking at. Like stage 10, which is probably the hardest one, the one with the gammas and Cell Max. Yeah, see, they only do, even up to Cell Max, their normals, the highest normal damage is like 1.5 million. So with 1.1 million defense and guard, he should be able to tank normals in the events that you can actually use him in, which, you know, at least that's better than nothing, I guess. Alright, so we'll do the same thing we've done here before. I like using this stage now to showcase these buffs for the GT Heroes team, because we can just target Zamasu for a couple of turns and make sure we get our rotations all sorted and everything. Obviously this guy, if you are running him on the team, you're running an event where you can use him, he's just going to be a third slot floating support unit, so we're only keeping him on rotation, of course, because of the fact that it's a showcase scenario. So, you know, it is what it is in that front. He does have good links though, like obviously he has Saiyan Raw, so he does link up nicely with any of the Super Saiyan 4 characters to give them that extra buff. Even if you have a different unit in slot 1 and you've got a Super Saiyan 4 in the middle, then obviously he's going to add that extra benefit. I mean, I mentioned it briefly in the STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku EZA, or Super EZA video, but this guy came out with the second year. The rotation of STR Super Saiyan 4 Goku and this Super Saiyan 3 Goku next to him was like the hardest hitting rotation in the game at the time when they came out by a decent amount, because obviously giving attack support, which he always did, he didn't give defense when he first released, but giving attack support and having Saiyan Raw just made that Goku really, really good. And his numbers were okay as well, considering he was just a, you know, unfeatured SSR available at the time. So it's definitely an interesting one. I find myself just kind of thinking about, when you think about all the units that we've got, and we've been going through and doing all the showcases, seeing where they're at levels wise and kind of like defensively and stuff like that. This guy is very much feeling a bit like STR Omega to me, where you'll put him on the team, he gives decent support, like 66% attack for GT Heroes, obviously really good, but he himself is potentially a liability when it comes to tanking like these big attacks from the enemy. Now, obviously, the difference between him and Omega is Omega's dropping like 70 million attack stats, whereas this guy obviously isn't going to be doing that. But that's not to say that he's not good. Of course, he does also share the same name with this Goku, because he's a giant ape, so that's kind of awkward. So this turn, we got the support from this Goku, so we're at 469, so basically 470k defense start of turn. So he's getting almost a million defense when he attacks. So being up close to around 1.5 million defense and guard is still pretty good. It's just not going to be super great for like certain enemy super attacks and things like that. But we'll see how well we do here against the Rose. Get the dodge with them, which is good. I mean, they benefit, everyone benefits from this Goku being around, right, in terms of that support. 66% attack and extra ki and 33% defense is obviously very good. Considering, you know, with some of the buffs that we have on the team. Like, you imagine you've got STR Super Saiyan 4 Goku buffing attack. Not on this particular build we've got now, but like STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku buffing attack in slot 2. Then this guy, with all the buffs he's giving in slot 3. Imagine how hard AGL Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is going to hit on that turn. Especially if it's like the active skill turn. It's combinations like that with all the crazy support that these teams are getting is how I'm seeing like screenshots of 55% Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta hitting like 100 million attack stats and stuff. Like, the team can get a lot of support going on with some of these units. And I mean, 22 million attack stat, like, that's not terrible for a unit that is basically just here to give support. And then he always gets a secondary one. So gets that little bit of extra defense. He's got that little bit of extra attack from the previous turn, so slightly higher attack stats. And I mean, there you go. Like, my Goku, I mean, to be fair, my Goku at the end is 2 dupes instead of being rainbowed. But, you know, that STR Goku is out damaging him, which is kind of funny. Obviously, this guy's here mainly for the defensive support and then to transform into the Super Saiyan 4 Goku. But that being said, like right at the start... Oh, plus, actually, no, to be completely fair to that Goku, he's got no links active. That does make a pretty significant difference, I would say. Alright, so I do want to make sure Pan is able to attack here so that we can get the buffs ready for the next turn. So let's go ahead and do this and then do this. Vegeta won't be able to kill Rose by himself, so we just get Gogeta to attack Zamasu, and then Pan should be able to get her super attacks off, and that will give us a nice defensive buff ready for the next turn. Although you watch, we'll get the Great Ape transformation next turn. But that's the thing, it's completely random. It's just a 30% chance at the beginning of every turn until you eventually get it, and then obviously you can't get it again. But that means you could go entire runs, even of relatively long events, if there's any you can be running. You can go relatively multiple different clears of different stuff without ever seeing him transform. Or sometimes it'll be the opposite and he'll transform way too early. But, you know, I guess it is one of those things where it's almost like it's interesting to see what he's doing and what kind of numbers he's putting out on this team that he wants to be run on. But at the same time, I can't help but feel like not particularly invested in how good or not he is, because I can't use him in any of the events that like I like to play. Like all the events that we consider the proper end game difficult events, those are the ones I like to replay with new units and new teams to try and test them out, to see how good they are, see if we can do like no item run challenges and all that kind of stuff. And like I can't use this guy in any of those events. So whilst it is very interesting to see what his post EZA like situation is, it's a unit that I'm not going to be able to get much use out of, which I think is really disappointing. And there we go, we get the transformation. I don't know if this means we lose the defensive stacks from Pan now that we've transformed, like when we go back around into, because it's technically still the same turn. But yeah, the Giant Ape has the greatly raised attack, temporarily destructive damage, and then changes key spheres physical to STR, randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow other than physical and STR, and then high chance to crit, and 100% attack per key sphere obtained. So we can get 11 orbs there. Then we can get 9. And then we can get 4, which is a very distinctive difference. So let's see what we're looking at here. I'm not expecting like crazy damage, but you know, still free damage. I mean, 23 million actually, that's not bad for the free damage that we're getting from the Giant Ape turn. Yeah, 19 million, that was with the 7 orbs, and then we only got 4 for the one at the end. So with 4 orbs, 9.8, so that's, yeah, a bit more of the kind of level that I was really expecting. But it's not the end of the world, because like I said, the Giant Ape transformation is usually only really useful for making sure the enemy doesn't super attack you. Interestingly enough, of course, I forget, with this guy not being an active skill and being the old school Giant Ape, it means you are very likely to have 2 turns. And it is even possible to have 3 turns. So let's do all of those. Yeah, 15.6. I mean, obviously it varies very significantly, his attack stats, because it is reliant completely on the number of orbs that you pick up. And then he just has a 50-50 chance of whether he's going to crit or not. The overall amounts of damage that he does, I guess, isn't really that important, because it is the utility part of the unit that we care more about, or the Great Ape transformation. It's just the fact that it doesn't have... It feels like by sort of default it doesn't have as much utility when it's a thing you can't choose when you use it, right? It's not like a tool that you can use in the right situation, because it's just completely random whether it happens or not. Which I think is a bit disappointing. Like with his EZA, they could have made it like an HP restriction or something, because it's not an active skill. So there's nothing to stop them setting a specific, like, this is when it happens kind of thing. Right, so we'll let Gogeta attack Zamasu, so that we definitely get to attack with Goku again. 700k defense. Is that with the pan buff, I guess? Because, yeah, when he attacks, he's going to get 1.4 million. So he goes up to 2.1 million with guard and 50% chance to dodge. I mean, that's pretty good. Like I say, like the events that you can use him in, he's going to be tanking pretty well for the most part. I mean, the bosses in the Divine Wrath or Mortal Will, to be fair, like the Gammas, for example, in that movie 10 like stage, are hitting for about 3 mil on 3.6 mil on their phase 2 super attacks. So I mean, 2.1 million defense and guard, he's going to be able to take a lot less damage. I don't know, guard isn't exactly 50% off the damage, is it? But if it is, like, he might actually tank that for double-digit damage. Otherwise, he has a 50% chance to dodge. That's kind of the backup. And I think the best build for him, if he's just going to be a floating support unit anyway, for these teams, the best build for him is just going to be full dodge, like, regardless. So hopefully he does come in clutch with those dodges, but I'm not sure what the build is on mine currently, because just EZA'd him. I don't have any. I didn't have spare copies for like fixing his hidden potential. I think I did make him mostly dodge. You've seen him dodge a couple of times. He tanks the Zamasu super for double-digit damage. So I mean, he definitely seems like he could be pretty decent, but again, it's like it's hard to really be too invested in how good he is when we can't use him on like half the teams. Very disappointing. Alright, so if we do this, we're going to be able to get the support for the 2 turns with the Goku's 18 key super, which I think would be quite good to get active here. So we'll do that. Just get the Giant Ape attacks out of the way here. That's the other thing with running this team set with 2 Giant Ape Gokus. We got to play through. I mean, again, like with the orbs picked up, like this guy, the Giant Ape for the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, is not hitting as hard as we saw the STR one hit, depending on the orb situation. It is interesting to have like the Giant Ape form as kind of a nuker, because a lot of the time, if you're using a Giant Ape active skill and it's only 1 turn, sometimes I like to just use that to set up the orbs ready for when we get back to the proper like rotation. Whereas, of course, if the Ape themselves is like a nuker, then you're wanting to pick up orbs with them rather than saving them like to set up for the next rotation, which might not be as effective, I don't know. But either way, we get our unskippable grandpa cutscene here, and then we can go ahead and get that support buff in play. I think I'm probably going to go for Goku attacking in slot 1, just to make sure we get the buff, because Gogeta obviously has the potential to just go crazy, and then Vegeta in slot 3 will be fine. Of course, I realised the attacks change after the Giant Ape turn. I was thinking, yeah, Goku can go slot 1, there's no attacks there. But that was before the Giant Ape turn. But either way, we'll be fine here. Yeah, 57 million for Gogeta. I think that's pretty good. With the Super Saiyan 4 Goku 18 keys, 44% buff. I'd say that was pretty good. and then basically 40 million on the additional, yeah? Yeah, Gogeta's pretty good. 43.7. Okay. Definitely going to try for a dupe with for him with the last 50 tickets, but unless they are doing this thing with the whole other banner and the tickets can be used for that one, then we'd have to go for that, I guess. But alright, so 525 start of turn. I think we have to active skill with Gogeta just so he gets the extra defensive capability here. I mean, yeah, 70 million, which is in part thanks to the support from the Goku, so we take those. Not great key on this turn, but, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, on the active skill term, already having the defense buff, Gogeta tanks that easy. 97.3. I mean, this is, you know, like I say, the effect of giving, like, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta 66% extra attack. And there's the previous, like, turn 44% Goku. So 67 on the additional. Yeah, I don't think Super Saiyan 3 Goku's going to get a chance to attack here. But, I mean, that doesn't really matter. His attack stats aren't important. Like we said, it's kind of seeing how well he does on the team, what his defenses are looking like and stuff like that. Like, this turn he only has 500k start of turn. So he gets a million on Super. So putting him at about 1.5 with guard. So, you know, he does okay. 27 mil is what it is. But, yeah, there's just the big shame of the fact that you just can't use him in a bunch of the events. So, any of the events that do come out, maybe in future with some of the new ones they are deciding to drop or are designing to drop in the next lot of events, maybe they'll make it a little bit easier, like make it so that you can run these guys. But I really feel like at this point they should just change it and unban them all, because really what difference is it going to make? Even if someone does want to sit and reset the special battle stage 4 50 times until there's no attacks in slot 1, and then gets the perfect orb change and everything, so that then they just nuke the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta in one turn. Like, what does that really matter overall, right? So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of the Goku down below in the comment section. Like I said, he's pretty decent, but it's kind of hard to care how good he is, really, when we can't use him. He's definitely not like a fumble, I don't think, with his Easy A. It could be a little bit better. 1.5 million defense average with guard is nothing too crazy, but can't use him anyway. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So, that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.